about technical stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. So look, yeah, obviously we had to fix some technical stuff here. What I wanted to say, what I was saying is that, growing up in Houston under Paul,
Right.
there was Chad, there was Cheryl, there was Ashley, there was Fourth, me. So at any given time, there was, 3 to 5 people on the world team.
Right.
And it almost felt like that was the center of the universe, right? It was this weird thing. You created this thing down in Central Florida, North Central Florida, where it came out of, and for me, I know it probably for you guys were years in planning, but it seemed like it came out of nowhere. Next thing you know, you've got Erin Jackson, Brittany Bowe, Joey Mantia. Everybody's on the world team. Everybody's a national champion. Everybody's winning multiple worlds. And then all of a sudden, boom, Olympics for everybody.
Right.
What is it? What is it you guys, first off, what'd you put in the water?
I don't know. Everybody keeps saying they don't put in the water. Maybe it's the same thing the horses are drinking that go to the Kentucky Derby. I don't know.
Yeah, because a lot of people are talking about the Olympics right now, the phenomenal performance from Erin, Brittany getting her bronze, Joey getting his bronze. But a lot of people don't know that these kids grew up together around you.
Right. I think people are getting to know that. We've had a lot of media coverage, and I think way more so this time. And for sure, because last time I had 3 on the team, but Erin, squeaked on and, got 24th at the Olympics. So the fact that all 3 of them were medal contenders, kind of even surprised me when you think about the gap in between, like when they all started. There's not that much age difference, but it's still pretty amazing that Joey and Brittany, even after being world champions so many years on their inlines, were able to switch to ice and still make it to 3 Olympics. Erin, I hope, will be able to do the same. She'll have her second Olympics next time, and who knows if she'll go for the third, but I think we just outworked them on inlines. I think I had gotten out of school and had my physical therapy degree, and hopefully that would make up for me not being a world champion or even a national champion individually. So I worked really hard at trying to develop a program that, would train athletes well as get them ready for when they needed to be ready. I got a big leg up when I coached with Virgil and Sue Dooley, right when I first started coaching back in 87, 88. They were amazing to me, and they introduced me to the bank track clinics and outdoor nationals and the whole outdoor world, where I think most coaches that get into it, they do indoor for several years before they even realize there is an outdoor program. But for me, that was huge. And then in 2000, I took the kids over to France, and once I saw that meet and that kind of competition, I fell in love with international racing. So when they did so well over there, I had no idea how good they were until we probably came back from France, and I realized out of, there was like 60 or 70 guys on the track, and that I think Joey was, 14. He was a cadet. And out of all those boys on the very last lap, after all these laps, here comes my boys, Paul and Joey, coming out of the corner together, just the 2 of them. And I was like, wow, they are pretty good after all. Cause you don't have anything to compare it to until you go international. So then I started taking them to Colombia, and, we went to Belgium and just several places out of the country before they even were on the world team. Whereas so many skaters make our team nowadays, and it's the first international race they've ever done. Being on the world team shouldn't be for experience. Even Michael Cheeks, I remember the year he made the marathon team, his first marathon was at the world championship. And unfortunately, other countries, they train outdoors all year long, and every meet, once a month, they're on a bank track like we're at a league meet. So those type of races, being that, the elimination races, the points races, different type of qualifying in the 500s or the thousands with the times, all that is things that have to be learned. And if you never take your kids to competitions internationally, then all of a sudden you get to worlds and these kids are lost. There's no way in a couple weeks after when you get there that you're going to be able to explain the entire international racing circuit to and get them ready to skate.
Yeah, it's a totally different environment once you leave the United States. I think I was listening to Jim Larson's show last night, and I think there's 4 bank tracks in the United States. And even if you skate outdoor on a regular basis, trying to go to another country and skate on a bank track where they're skating on that every single day
Plus,
versus
how that Vesmaco coating has changed things also. Like at least before, if it were going to be a regular slippery bank track or whatever, we could kind of simulate it. But I guess roll-ons is close to simulating the Vesmaco at this point. But obviously, it's a lot different feel, and I just feel like the kids really need to be exposed to that. The best thing that could happen out of all of this, if I could get someone to build a track in Ocala and with some Vesmaco, and we could start training people even better, because as excited as I am about my kids doing well at the Olympics, their days in inlines have come and gone. Maybe not Erin, who knows if she'll be, a dual sport athlete, but we have to do something in our country to build our sport back up, because Joey in 2003 got 10 golds and 2 silvers in 12 races that he did. Okay. We don't have people that can do that now. They can win multiple medals, multiple distances. And the whole world has changed, and there's a lot more specializing, and we still have like a procedure of picking our world team that doesn't depend on specialization. And until we do that, and we make it where the kids have to decide and choose to be a specialist, I don't think we're going to be successful at the world level again. Like back in the day when Paul Hedrick and myself went to Columbia and helped them, increase their level. We now need to go to Columbia and increase our level, because they've continued to progress and we haven't.
Yeah, that was a big thing even when I was skating back in the day. And I've made this very clear. I had zero intention of skating anything over a 500 meter.
Right.
Not only zero intention, zero capability. Like
muscle fibers.
Right. It just, even to this day, I'm just a big meatball. If you get me going, I'm fast.
Right.
There's no reason for me to go 10,000 meters.
Yeah.
But yeah, today it would seem that it would serve the sport so much better. Inline speed skating, it would serve it so much better if they could just say, "Hey guys, look, we're doing it wrong. These other countries, they've got it right. Just because we're America, doesn't mean we have it right. Let's figure out why these other countries are just whooping our ass every year at the World Championships."
And I have people that are like, "Oh, well, you went down and shared our secrets with the Colombians, and then you shared our secrets with the Belgians." It's like, I've never had any secrets. Virgil and Sue Dooley taught me everything they could, and I use their program to this day and added things of my own on it. But I'm always willing to teach anybody everything I know. I've never had a problem with that. I want the entire country to come up a level. People used to say, "Oh, well, like, how's it feel? You're the only person that's, developing world champions." I'm like, it's not good. I go, it's not good that one coach is producing the world champions. I mean, because if we don't, it was like us in North Carolina were the only 2 people getting placements for the longest, like Heather Richardson and those guys, the High Point, North Carolina team and the Team Florida team basically were the only ones getting on the podium. And that's not a good thing. Even when, you guys were going, at least, there was Michigan getting some placements. You guys were getting placements. There was more of a diversity of states. Whereas if you put it all down to one person, that isn't going to be a good thing. I can't beat the world with one skating rink, basically. I mean, we have to do this as a country. And the hardest thing is for people to, to really want to work together. You got lots of people that'll come on these podcasts and all these different shows. A couple come to mind in particular that always have answers to everything, always, are complaining about how the system is now, what we do now is wrong. But every time somebody tries to change something or try to do something better, they fight against it. So, I can go in other countries and make money to go do clinics. So why am I going to beg to do clinics in the US for free just to get people to skate? People know where I am. If they want to have a program for me, there's no problem. Just come and ask me. It's just, I don't know why people are, I don't know why it's so difficult. And maybe it's in all sports. I only know the one that I'm involved in, but it just seems that we just can't work together well enough to make things happen. And if we can't get these kids together more often and, take the national team overseas and skate as a team, we're never, ever going to get back on the podium, because all the kids really care about right now is being the fastest in the United States, you know, and you can be that and you can still not be that wonderful on an international level. You know, it's great to be the best in our country. I mean, if Joey wanted to keep skating and do the next quad at 40 years old, he's probably still going to be the best in the US at some of those distances.
Mm-hmm.
But going to be able to get on the Olympic podium, who knows? You know, that's a long shot, because now you've gotten younger people coming up and the different training technique and, you know, learning how to, you know, get it right down to a science of how much lactic acid you have built up in your legs, so that, you know, what you should be doing, how you should be recovering, how you should cool down, warm up, all those type of things we're not doing in inlines. Like, we have no idea. If you ask a kid what their VO max is, their VO2 max, they're going to not know what you're talking about. Yeah. I remember in Cuba, when we went to Cuba, no, I guess it was, I'm trying to think where me and Joey went. I think it was in Colombia. We had like a meeting and they wanted to ask Joey questions and me questions. And they brought up periodization. And Joey just had this look on his face like, what are they talking about? And I'm like, Joey, all you have to do is come to practice. I do that part for you. Mm-hmm. You know, and you don't have to do any of that. You know, and he joked later, he goes, I don't even have periods. And I'm like, okay. Okay, period. And then I had to explain what it was. And it's not until probably now that he's really understanding what I did when he was younger. You know, like when he first went to Seattle, he was like, I don't understand what's going on here. They don't do right foot, left foot pushes. They don't do these drills. They don't do, I said, because not everybody works on technique, Joey. I'm like, not everyone does that. He goes, well, no wonder I'm so good. But I really was a technique guru. And I mean, I really pushed the technique. And I think some coaches get tired of it, like, because it's so repetitive that it's kind of boring. And yeah, it's boring for the kids sometimes too, but you have to make them understand the importance of doing repetitions, because you're never going to build muscle memory if you don't do enough repetitions to make yourself be. And that's why I came up with perfect practice makes perfect, because some coaches have them do the drills, but there's no feedback. So they're doing them incorrectly and no one ever tells them. So they just get better at doing them wrong. Whereas as a coach, if I'm at practice, I'm constantly trying to give feedback and correct what they're doing wrong in order to make them do it correctly, so that eventually they can perfect it.
Yeah, well, you know, that was, I guess, and that was kind of a weird thing growing up there. Like I said, with Paul and Chad, is Chad was just a natural.
He was just a natural
thing.
Skate.
And I say this all the time, and I say it in the most loving way. But if you look at Chad, you don't see an athlete. Like right. he looks like a high powered real estate agent, which is what he is. I mean, but he was even that way as a teenager. Right. He just never looked that way. And then, but you put the spandex on him, you put the skates on him, and you just like, oh my God, this guy is a phenomenon. Right. And he would come out there and practice with us and skate with us, and he would just beat our ass every single day. There you go. But Paul worked on a lot of that technique. Paul constantly, we were doing circle drills. We would constantly doing cornering, passing, things like that. But Paul's big thing was, you know, if you can skate, you can skate. You have the opportunity to get out there, skate. And actually, we used to get in trouble. Like, Paul would get on us about any kind of cross training. There was no such thing as getting on a bike or riding around doing other stuff. With your kids, did you guys get on, like, start crossing that bridge early on?
I think when, you know, I met Virgilans too, they were doing a lot of biking with the kids. But it kind of scared me, because we were actually riding from Hudson, Florida down to Tampa with these kids on bikes, and people were just so, you know, it's just, it was like nerve wracking for me, because a lot of my kids were pretty young at that time when we switched over. And I have used cycling. Joey cycled a lot. Erin never cycled much until she went out to Utah. I'm a big believer, if you're training to skate, you need to skate to train. So I'm like Paul, I believe you should be in your skates as much as possible. And I think that's the one reason why when we cross over to ice, we're so much stronger, because we spend so much more time in our skates. You know, Joey says it's brutal to be able to, you know, to stay in your skates like more than an hour and you know, on the ice. Whereas on inlines, we could skate, you know, we'd skate a couple hours in the morning, go to outdoor, skate a couple more hours, maybe go back and skate somewhere else, you know, or, you know, do a bike ride. But I guess just the amount of lactic acid that you build up in that position, whereas in inlines you could stand up and, you know, relax your legs a little bit and that. But yeah, unless I have a kid that just has some kind of foot problem or just skates so much that they're burnt out on it, then I'm going to tell them to skate if they're going to train. we're not training to do a cycling race. We're training to do a skating race. So I agree with Paul on that, is that the more time you spend in your skates, the better. I would use cross training if you were unable to skate, whether for weather, for foot problems, or for whatever. But you would use the cross training because you couldn't skate.
Did you guys start doing any kind of weight training? Because Joey, I mean, I could use this to kind of segue into an article that was just put out that someone sent me earlier today. But Joey has always had these phenomenal legs, and his dad's a good looking guy. His dad's always been in great shape, but Joey's had always these phenomenal legs. Did you guys?
Actually, his muscular build is more like his mom.
Really?
To be honest, Joe works on his, but if you've ever seen his legs, he kind of has chicken legs. Freddie, like, is just like, one of those people that are just like very muscular, just naturally muscular. I feel like he got a lot of that from her. But the only weights we ever did was because of the physical therapy background, I would bring some of the cuff weights, like 2-3 pounds, and we would do exercise just like laying on the ground, doing leg lifts, side things that I do with my geriatric patients, basically still, just to get a little extra strength in their hips. But Joey never weight trained until he went to Seattle, and none of my kids did. We use plyometrics. Now, we did some plyos. We, out of that Diane Holland's book of Speedskating, we used Eric Heiden's exercises, and we did them religiously, like every practice. It wasn't just like, oh, we do them part of the season and then not the other. We did plyometrics pretty much throughout the season until the last month or so before regionals, and then we taper it down to skating, because like I said, I believe in training to skate to train, but those exercises, because they are imitating skating, then that's the kind of dry land I'd rather do than cycling or something. I'd rather them still be working on their technique, but they're doing it on their feet.
Well, when you're looking at these guys, you're transitioning them over from inline to ice. Is there anything that you guys do? Do you guys work on your inline differently to more favor ice, or do you just go straight back to the inline training?
We go to inline training. I think they benefited a lot from some of the drills that Virgil taught me and other drills I got out of Diane Helm's book, because when I was, I graduated from physical therapy school and started coaching right away. And I was all about like research and reading things. And there was no books on inline speed skating then, or as a matter of fact, it was still quad speed skating until 1992. So there was really nothing there that you could, pick up and read and find a drill or anything. There's still difficulty for new coaches to find those kind of things. But I picked up Diane Holland's book, and it just has so much great technical stuff in it that we started using a lot of that. And we did a lot of those drills throughout their skating career. So I think, that probably did transition well when they went to the ice. Ryan, the coach out there, feels like, there's something with my kids that they transition easier. And that's the only thing I can really point to, is that we did a lot of, right foot, left foot pushes. We did a lot of balancing on one skate and then the other. Just a lot of different drills that probably did help them, but it wasn't ever meant to make them better ice skater. Everything I ever did was to make them better inliners. Do you have, I mean, look, again, I met Joey when he was probably, like I said, 10. I was there 2000, actually 2000 was the last picture of him being autographed somewhere.
Yeah, probably something like that. But when 2000 was the last year I did France, the Trois Pieds. And I remember him going over there and dominating, just kicking everybody's butt.
Yep.
In that age group. And he was the future of it at that time. I mean, of course you can't ever look at it and say who's the next Joey, Brittany, or Erin. Do you have any of these kids that come to you and say, all right, I want to do inline, but my ultimate goal is to go to ice?
There's some, and you don't know if it's the parents pushing them that way or themselves, but I really try hard to let them know that switching over earlier isn't really going to give them any advantage. I've had skaters that were good junior world team members, had even gotten medals in junior worlds, and tried to cross over, and they didn't have the same success. I think that discipline of already being a world champion and knowing what it takes to be that has helped them tremendously when they went to the Olympic, switched over to ice, because they already knew what it was going to take. Like, they knew what it took to be at the top of this sport. So they knew it was going to be as hard or harder to be at the top of another sport. and they had to start from the ground up. So, you know, I have a few that, you know, will say, oh yeah, I think I want to switch to ice. And of course, when the reporters were here this week, they kind of knew that's what they wanted to hear. Like even with Erin, she hated the cold. If it was 50 degrees out, she wasn't coming to outdoor at all. And she didn't even do outdoor until she was ready to go to the outdoor nationals. Like didn't care for it. So he was probably the first skater in this country that specialized. And I did it for a couple of reasons. One, because I realized her genetic makeup was such that she was going to be a sprinter. And the second is because I could never get her to be a regular 3 to 4 day a week practice skater as I did the others. She always had schoolwork, or, you know, she was putting together a robot or whatever. She always had something, you know, she was into always with school, always, you know, for education. I was telling someone that like, she's the only person I think I ever got mad at about doing their homework, because, you know, she'd leave early to get her homework done. She'd come in late because she had to get homework done. And I used to think it was her parents. And I realized pretty early on that she was very self-motivated and self-driven. And she was her own worst enemy. Like our own worst critic. She would definitely not be happy if she didn't make straight A's. And it, you know, it paid off. I mean, she's got a college degree now in engineering, and, you know, college degree in computer science, and is working on one in kinesiology. She just loves to learn.
That's the really weird thing about these athletes is people just say, oh, well, you just do this all day long. And they don't really think about someone like Erin, who is not only a phenomenal athlete, but an amazing human being, but she has all of this other stuff going on for her. And she's working at it all of the time.
She is. And, you know, I don't think she's ever going to be satisfied, because I think that's the kind of person she is. Like, she wants to keep bettering herself. And, you know, just like she said, she wants to be a good role model. I mean, a lot of people have said that, but she truly wants to be that role model that people can look up to. And, you know, everything's in the open. Like, she doesn't have any, you know, any skeletons in her closet. This is what, you know, this is really her. There's nothing fake about what's been going on in the last month, you know, with either girl. Brittany and Erin both are just genuinely great humans. And, you know, I've always known that, but now the rest of the world knows it too.
I have to say, and granted, since I had kids, I cry all the time, you know, just random tears. But I will say two moments. I've only met Erin one time. Her and I have had several conversations on Facebook, but I've only met her once. And watching her interview, number one, I bawled my eyes out. Her interview when she didn't make the Olympic team.
Right.
And
last act.
Her fully acceptance of, you know what? Hey, this is what it is.
It's on me. Yeah.
Yeah. I bawled my eyes out, because I said, you know what? That is a fully developed human being. She's Absolutely. An amazing person. And like, I'm just sitting there crying. I'm like, she's not even my kid. And then the second one, because I fully expected her to win a gold medal. I didn't cry when that happened. But when Brittany gave up her spot and just said, completely selfless act to say,
honor to give it to you.
Yeah. Like, I want to be the one to give this to you, and I want you to take this spot because you're the one to take it.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people ask me, were you surprised? I wasn't surprised. Joey was probably the first person right after the race that texted me, and he was like, and that's why we should have pre-qualified positions, you know, and I could tell he was upset. And then maybe 20 minutes later, he goes, I think I just heard Brittany say she's going to give her the race. And I was like, because first I thought they were 2 500s. There's always been 2 500s.
Right.
All this was, and then Joey goes, no, it's one and done. And I was like, so I hadn't even started freaking out then. And he goes, I think I just heard Brittany tell her that she's going to give her the race. And I was like, that wouldn't surprise me. But at the time I didn't really want her to, because Brittany, it's important for Brittany to skate the 500 too. So I didn't want it to affect her races at the Olympics as well. But nobody could have recommended her do that, or encourage her to do it, or encourage her not to do it. It was totally her personal decision. And it was something that, she felt in her heart was the right thing to do. And the way it turned out, we all saw that it was the right thing to do, that Erin needed that spot. And I think Erin made the most of it also because of the fact that Brittany gave it to her. And she told her on Good Morning America, she said it's a shared medal, which I thought was super. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't, I think it obviously it speaks to the kind of human beings they are.
Right.
Just amazing human beings. And
yeah. He texted me and he said, you know, I love Erin and she deserves it, but I wouldn't do
it. You know, I can't blame him. I mean, because quite honestly, there's very few of us that would.
No. And there's people that said, oh, Kimmy should have gave up her spot. No, she shouldn't.
No.
If Kimmy was my skater, I wouldn't have wanted her to give up her spot.
Heck no.
Like, no, you're skating. You made it. I'm sorry that she slipped, but you made it, you know?
Yeah. Like so, I had a show, I did a show earlier today. I was talking with somebody and I told him, I said, you know, it's the most amazing thing about Erin was the fact that she recognized that this was not an interference from another skater. This was this was her slip up. So this was her error. And she just fully recognized it and said, you know what? Hey, whatever comes, whatever the, you know, and I had my opportunity and I'm grateful for it. And no one else should suffer for that.
Right.
Just, it's just
way better than I was handling it at the time. I was still bawling by the time that interview came on. I didn't have to start crying. I was already crying.
Yeah. And thank God we have Facebook and all that stuff now, because literally I'm sitting there watching it and I'll be honest, I'm so far removed from speed skating at this point. So many people are just hammering me to come back and do the 100-meter drag race.
Yeah.
This look, when I left speed skating, I weighed 100 and somewhere between 150 and 160 pounds.
You aren't that big.
I'm 200 pounds now. I'm Joey. I think Joey's what, 5'7"?
Yeah, he's not very tall.
Right. So he's 5'7". I'm 5'9". Take Joey, leaned as can be. He's probably somewhere around 165 pounds. I'm 200 pounds. I'm going to look like I'm a freaking Jolly Green Giant out there in this skin tight uniform.
You got to get some spandex cess.
Oh, I cannot. No. I'm going to let it all flow. It's coming out the sides. It's coming out. It's coming out everywhere. So what is, okay. So, you first, again, I go back to this. I started this with Renee. It's like you came out of nowhere with these amazing kids. You know, I live, you know, I live a mile from 4th, and we see each other every single day, and we talk skating, and we have these conversations about these things going on, and we talk about your skaters as the front runners in this sport. I just had Casey Boudier on the other day, and all he kept talking about was Joey. So you've clearly you've redefined what it means to be in this sport. In my opinion, going forward, you guys, you're still coaching the Ocala team. Joey Collazo would be very upset if I didn't mention him here, and throw him out there
for that year.
How did he do?
He did good. But it was great. Him and Joey, the two of them together, it was so much fun because they're both like hilarious. So yeah, you know how Joey Collazo is. He makes everything funny. So I really enjoyed him.
Yeah. Good. Both good guys. But so now you have, going forward in inline speed skating, you have USARS and you have USRSS. Where do you guys fall? Where does your team fall? Are you guys carded in both, or do you guys?
We can all find fault with our organization, and my biggest thing is just for the kids, and because I'm into the international and the world team stuff. Obviously, I'm going to stick with the national governing body, even though there's rumor they're going to try to take that away or whatever. I was on the board for 3 years. I wish I had been able to accomplish more when I was there. I didn't get accomplished much as I thought I could by being on the board. So I kind of just decided it was a lot of time and I wasn't really making any progress. Probably I'm not as good on the political front as I am just doing day-to-day coaching and, getting kids ready. I don't know. I don't mind if my kids want to skate, they skated a meet for that, for the USSRS or whatever, a couple weeks ago up in Milton at David's rink. I don't care if people skate, whatever, they can skate as many meets as they want. I think sometimes we get into way too much competition instead of training. When those kids were growing up, we didn't go, I mean, we went to the league meets, and we went to the invitationals, but now there seems like there's something every other weekend. And I had dinner last night with a world team member, James Sadler. And, I was talking to him about the same thing. Like, his sponsor took him to all these meets all over the place that really meant nothing. And then he missed the Orlando Classic when the Colombians were, and he missed the Junior Pan American game tryout, which he could have qualified, and he would have been able to go down there with me and still skate as a junior. So there was a lot of mistakes made so far into his career. And what I'm trying to tell him is, you're 19 at this point. If you want to be a contender for a medal, you need to get your head on straight. You need to decide you're going to trust one person to coach you and, do someone's program, whoever's it is, for at least a solid year, and decide that that's what you want to do. Unfortunately, some of the sponsors in the sport end up running people out of the sport instead of, helping them stay in the sport. And there's one in particular that tends to do that more than others. And
you want to name the name?
I don't really.
No.
Like, everybody knows who he's been sponsored by, but the problem is, once you leave his team, then he gets the other ones to try to attack you and stuff. And
right.
It's just horrible for the sport. And for this kid, my main goal last night was just to try to talk him into staying in the sport instead of losing a kid that has a ton of potential, but really hasn't had anybody, like, he was from Tallahassee, so he's bounced around quite a bit, but never really had anybody that, wrote him a training program and said, this is what I want you to do, except for the particular sponsor, which it didn't work out well for him. So I think it's important that we try to keep the kids that we do have that are at the top of our sport. Don't, like, he was asking about ice, and I told him a while back, and he remembered. I said, I don't want you to go to ice until you reach your goals on inlines. Maybe that won't be till you're 25, but if that's the case, okay. This is the sport that you want to be in. The problem is with money, and because they have to pay their way to worlds every year, you got to come up with, like, by the time they make it out of, junior, they've already spent 20 grand going to worlds, at least, besides the fact that if their parents went and all that. So I think, we burn people out with all of that, but at the same time, we don't have any corporate sponsors that are going to pay for, our team to go overseas and to do anything. So it is what it is in our country. And if that that's something you want to do, you're just going to have to do the fundraising and, do the work to try to get the money to go. I think they should take a whole lot less people than they do. I think 3 in each group would be plenty for the max. Taking 6 skaters in each age division, all that does is just make it where each skater gets like one race the whole time. And then there's not even enough experience to benefit from. Kids need to get more than one race at World, so that first race, when they go out there and they learn something, they can turn around the next race and put it to use. If they get one race and they're one and done, but everybody got a race and, everybody got a participation pin and we're all good. It's just not, it's not going to get us back to the podium. I mean, if everybody's happy with that, just making team, and I hear that so much, oh, I just want to make the world team. It's like, if I hear one of my skaters say that, I lose my mind, because that is not the goal. The goal is to get a medal. Like, it's not just to make team in this country. Now, if you want to go to Columbia and you make team, then I will tell you, you've done something. But just to make team in our country, what it needs to be competitive at the world level.
Well, I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and first off, I'll ask the question: how do you accomplish that?
Let me grab a cord.
No problem. No problem. This is why the show is called Manage Chaos, because things just like this happen on every show. It's not a professional show. It's just very
trying to find what it is. I don't know. I got about 10% left on my phone, so I just don't know how much longer we're going to be. But
okay, no, that's totally fine. Well, the question I was going to ask is with you've got what your discussion you were talking about is how do you take 3 people to Worlds and still have the specialization? How do you have somebody that specializes in sprints as well as the middle distance, long distance, and 2 people that can compete really in every single event?
Right. And I mean, that's why you would take 4. But the problem with our country is that we don't really ever have 2 that can be in a race. I'm sorry, but we haven't had that in a very long a very long time.
Right.
But, you know, if we could find.
Renee, I got to say, I love you. Thank you. You know, you have stuck with me through this. I have always remembered you as just like one of the most amazing coaches ever. You've just always been there for everybody. And thank you so much for all the difficulty we've had for this show. You've just stuck with me so much. So, I love you.
I didn't think about it being low on battery, but yeah. So I think if we had four would be the perfect number, because you could take 2 distance and 2 sprinters. And then, you know, people say, oh, well, somebody got hurt, you wouldn't have anybody to put in the race. Well, we don't have anybody put in the race anyway. I mean,
right.
if one of the top 2 can't do it, I mean, my thing is, and I mean, there's probably gonna be some people get upset about this, but if you don't place in a race at outdoor nationals, there's no reason for you to be on the team.
Correct.
I don't see people getting 5th and 6th in 4 different races and they get enough points and they go to worlds. It's just a waste of energy and time for the coaching staff, because no matter how horrible they are, they want to race. And I get that. And I did it for 3 years and I didn't put anybody in a race that didn't deserve it, but there were people that went and didn't get races except the marathon. And I told people before we ever went, I told them at residency, you probably will not get a race if you didn't place at outdoor nationals. Well, then you'd have people call the national office and I paid $5,000. My kid better get a race. And, you know, I hated being the world team coach. As much as I used to want to be the world team coach when Joey and Brittany were growing up, I never got it. I didn't get it till 2015. I'd already coached other countries by then. But
because you coached South America and you coached over in Europe.
I coached in Colombia. I did several clinics in Colombia, and then I coached in Belgium from 04 to 08. I went there every February and did a clinic. Mm-hmm. And then those same skaters came over to me in December when they were out of school, and they would come over here and train before ice started, you know, before everybody went to the ice.
Yeah.
Because now season, of course, they go to ice. But I mean, I had Kaylin Dobbins, Erica Zanetti, all these people that were coming over to train with me that were all world champions. And Erin really got to benefit from a lot of that, because anytime I had the Europeans or the South Americans at my house, she would just move in. She just came over and brought her stuff, and she was right there. When she knew it was a good training opportunity, she would make sure she was there. And that's what I would tell people. She might not have trained as often as you, but she trained correctly and with intensity. And I specialized during the 500. I didn't care if she didn't finish the marathon or the long races. I didn't care, because I knew, you know, where her potential was. And then the more I coached her, the more I realized that just with a little bit of, you know, not enough training, that you should have been able to place at Worlds, but she could. So when people ask me, oh, did you expect her to be able to do this when she went to the Salt Lake? Of course I did, because I knew they would make her focus on one sport and she would be having to be dedicated to that. And I knew she would be amazing.
I wish Paul, look, I mean, you know, racing with Chad was very, very hard, because Chad could go out and skate a 20K and turn around and win a 300 meter. Yeah. So it was very difficult. So everybody was expected to compete in the same way. Cheryl was very much the same way. She could go out and skate a 20K and win a 300 meter. I wasn't that way. And Fred Forth wasn't that way. He was a long distance skater. He wasn't a sprinter.
Right. And you were a sprinter.
Oh, definitely. If it was, look, Renee, once I got into sophomore men and I had to skate more than 500 meters, I didn't want to do it anymore. Then I was done with the sport. I was finished. It was no good for me.
Now that's exactly the opposite. Like, he goes to a gym to work on his explosiveness. He's been doing box jumps since he was like 7. He has no fast switch fibers in his body. Like, but he skated a marathon, that Orlando marathon, and like finished with the big guys. You know, he's amazing. And he keeps saying, oh, the older I get, the better. There's longer races. He's this year, he'll be glad when that 3 laps out of the way, so he can do the 5, the 10, and the 15.
Yeah, I watched a race the other day. It had me in it, and it was a 500 meter. No, it was a 500 meter. I literally finished the race over a corner ahead, and then the very next year I had to do a 10-lap race, and I didn't even qualify for the final. I'm like this is at the national championships against the same exact people.
I started off at 16 years old in junior ladies, and that's back when there was like 10 heats of everything. Mm-hmm. And it's like 500, I could get out of my heats. the 1500, I get lapped in the heats. Like I couldn't even get out. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, it's no point to it. Well,
I
so
remember a girl named the Strickland. Her dad owned all the Starlight rings, and she was Tammy Strickland. She was the one I had like the big champion back then, and they owned all the Starlights. And I coached. I first skated out of a Starlight in Charleston, so I was already scared. Oh, she's the rink owner's daughter. She just like lapped me, and I was like, okay, I'm done now.
That's what it felt like down in Champions. Just
yeah.
So where do you see, I mean, obviously the grassroots where we grew up, what we focused on in the very beginning with speed skating, inline speed skating. Usually after every Winter Olympics in the first 6 months, we see a blossom. We see a lot of people want to come in and start doing this because let's face it, since Casey Boudier, 94, 98, 2002, 2006, 2010, every 6 months, lots of people come in. They want to start inline speed skating because this is where all the inliners come from, or all the ice skaters come from. Where do you see your program going? Where do you see the sport going over the next, say, 2 years?
I'm really hoping that we can take some advantage of this too, especially in Ocala to get new skaters in. And hopefully with Erin, with the diversity, seeing people from, other races that decide, hey, skating is just not a white sport. We can do this. And hopefully, in Ocala, we'll have, several African-Americans that in the end end up on the Olympic team or, at national champions.
Can I tell you something really quick?
Yeah.
You know who came up on my Facebook page today?
Who's that?
Freddie Young.
Oh my gosh, he was so good from Vegas.
Yes.
He was amazing. And if you think about it, almost every African-American kid that has been in our sport has been amazing.
Yes.
There
absolutely.
Hasn't been a lot of them. There just hasn't been a lot of them. But the ones I've had on my team are all very good.
Well, Freddie Young. So 1996, I made the world team. Freddie Young was the he was going to win everything. I won the 300 meter. Had no idea what I just did. Right. But Freddie was amazing. And he went on to the Columbia Worlds that year, and he might have either got gold or silver. He is a city council member.
Oh, wow.
At in a city in Missouri. It's like Missa, Missouri.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. Just out of the clear blue. So yeah, people should realize that's like speed skating, just because it's ice, it's not just for white people. It's black people of color, black people.
Not just for winter climates,
Yeah, it's not all Nordic. It's not everybody from Norway or Iceland or whatever. This is Americans, and as Americans, we come from all backgrounds, all races, all religions. We put everybody out there, and we have so many amazing athletes. I mean, starting with look at Apollo. Apollo, I think, is a Samoan background or something like that.
Right.
Ryan Shimbakuru.
Derek Barrett was Mexican American.
Right.
Jennifer Rodriguez, Cuban American. Yeah, we've had a lot of diversity, much more in inlines than, but there still could be more, but I mean, definitely more so than ice. Like Erin said, she's surprised that she's the first one ever, but she's hoping that she can change that, that there will be more to come.
Is she really surprised? I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
I think it kind of even when she first, all the publicity from the first time, she almost was like, why does it have to be about me being black instead of being fast? And then I was like, Erin, think about a little girl sitting in her living room, watching TV and seeing you and wanting to be like you. I go, and I said, did you ever notice that there wasn't that many people of your color in the sport? And she said, no, but I think
she doesn't see color.
We don't we've gone to so many countries and had so many people from so many different places. I mean, I took the Luz Mary's kids used to come over and stay at my house so they could go and visit their dad in the federal prison. I'd go there and sit with them all day and, visit Mario. So, I mean, she has been with me through all of this and watched me as all these kids have come to my house, different colors, different, backgrounds, like you said. And I don't think she really sees color. I don't think she ever looked out there and go, uh-oh, I'm the only black one. I shouldn't do this. So I think that particular generation, before all this divisiveness started, I really think we had a pretty good thing going, because I think like Joey and Brittany and Erin's generation, not only with color, but with, with make sure I do this and stop. Then I don't want. I just want to decline it. Okay, should be okay now. Right. So, yeah, I think we were doing a really good job on most people in that age group, that there really wasn't this systemic racism that they want to throw out there at us. If we had systemic racism, we wouldn't have a black president and, black congressman and black everything else. I just think it's something to divide the country, just something else like the vaccines and whatever else, because, you're controlled better if you're divided. And I think with our sport, we need to realize that it's kind of the same thing. Like, you want to divide us between the two different organizations, instead of us working together. I was on the board when that happened, and we actually asked, can't we all just work together and do something together? And RSA was like, no way. You guys have already lost it. You haven't worked with us. We're not doing it. And so I was a little frustrated, because I hadn't been there on the board for 20 years about all the things they were talking about and all they were upset about. This is here and now. Our sport is dying. Let's do something now to fix it, and quit worrying about what Gary Castro did back in the day, or what this person did back in the day, or what does it matter now? It's now. We can't do anything about whatever money was there, wasn't there, whatever people want to, complain about.
Yeah. Charles Wallig, all these other people.
Yeah. Charles Wallig. I mean, all we can do is just go from this point on. We can't do anything about the past or the future. We only have the present right now to work with. So, if we could ever just get everybody on the same page, I feel like, we'd be pretty successful. I feel like sometimes I can be the person to help with that. I feel like sometimes I can be a bridge between, people that are just totally against the Ice Skating Federation and other people that think we should go underneath the Ice Skating Federation. We need to meet somewhere in the middle, because we're developing all these athletes for US speed skating, and they're getting all the money to develop athletes. Okay. They get funding to develop athletes for their programs. We're giving them athletes when they're already in their mid-20s and they're successful athletes, and they don't have to spend anything on developing them. I just think somehow working with them would be a whole lot better than just having the skaters are going to switch anyway. And, USAR's always had the idea, oh, they're taking all our top level skaters. They're not taking them. Nobody's taking anyone. The skaters are going there because once they get on the national team, their ice time's paid for. They get some, recognition, and they get some, some training that they don't have to pay for. So I don't know. I get frustrated, because I feel like the best thing for our sport right now is not to fight the whole ice program, but to embrace it and be like, at least our kids are getting to go to the Olympics. I mean, if you really care for the kids that you coach, is it about them getting a medal in your sport just so you can have the glory? Or do you just want them to be the best athletes they can ever be? I mean, people say, oh, was it hard for you to, not be able to coach them? I'm like, no, because most coaches, if you coach baseball or football or basketball, you have kids for a couple of years, they move on to the next league, they move on to middle school, they move on to high school, then college, and then maybe professional. But no other sport hardly is like that, where you coach someone from the day they start to the day they're world champions.
Right.
And that's what I love about the sport. And I remember Mike Bowe telling me that I got way too close to my athletes and my skaters, Brittany's dad, because he was a basketball coach. And so I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I get hurt a lot because I get too close. But then I went back to him and I said, that's easy for you to say. At the most, you have a kid for 4 years.
Right.
I was like, these kids, I've had your daughter, since she was a little child, and now
10
she's,
years.
an adult. Yeah. So, I never regret the relationships that I've developed, because my best friends and my most longtime friends are skaters.
Yep.
And skating people.
Yep. Yeah. My best friend lives a mile away from me. It's Fourth Lacey.
Right. And you got to be friends skating.
Chad doesn't want to talk to me. he's very not much in the way of, even though he dated my sister for 2 years, he's not he's not in the way of, talking to me right now. Not surprised about that, but,
can't please all the people all the time.
No, but I think we're going to be on the same golf tournament here in about 2 weeks.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Anyway,
you can warm him up a little bit.
But yeah, Renee, I just want to say, first off, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done in speed skating. I think it's great. I think it's a pretty good place for us to kind of wrap it up here. I know your phone's about to die. I want to say thank you for everything you've done, because like I said, with Paul, being with Paul, Paul was a phenomenal coach, and he served his purpose in his time. He had 5 of us on the world team at any given time. You have put 4 or 5, maybe 6 people on the world team and 3 people in the Olympics. Doesn't matter race, gender, sexual orientation. You have put 3 amazing human beings in the Olympics. You can't do that by anything other than being a good coach.
Yeah,
Everybody wants.
By that, like I said, you end up with these kids. They're more like your kids at this point. Like me and Joey were talking the other night, and that's when he said, he goes, yeah, he told me he couldn't do the 2 rounds, and he goes, I'm only doing 1 round of the team pursuit, and I was like, why? And he was like, because I'm not 20 anymore. And I said, you are to me. I said, you are in my mind. He goes, yeah, you'll always be my biggest fan. And I was like, yeah, more like you're my son. We spent a lot of time together. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And he always went with me to all the different rinks and everything when we were coaching. And like, he had a lot to do with helping me coach the younger kids. Like, he always, helped me out a lot. So we definitely got, super close. I was telling him, hopefully I get to see him, because I really want to sit down with all of them and just see what their experience was like. And what's the last 4 years been like, and just so I know too what's going on in the ice place, because I don't know as much about the details of that organization, and if I'm going to continue to get kids to the level they're going to switch over to that, I probably need to be more informed about exactly what's going on there, and learn from those guys that have been on 3 Olympic teams, and find out what they learned and what we can teach the others as they're coming up.
Yeah. With those guys coming up here and setting that example, it's beyond just saying, hey, I will say, skating under Paul, it wasn't, hey, go win nationals. Hey, go win the outdoor nationals. It was, go win a medal at Worlds.
Right.
And you're not shit unless you win a medal at Worlds. Okay. Yeah. So with you guys, you've set the bar higher. You set you just like Chad, just put out there, Chad. Let's for 1 second throw out all of these amazing inline speed skaters that have transitioned from inline to ice. We're going to Casey Boudier, Jen Rodriguez, Derek Parra, Joey Cheek, Jessica Smith, Stephanie Abraham, Jennifer Ruckert. God, we're going to go Jonathan Garcia, of course, Joey, Erica, Brittany. All of these, Erin Jackson, all amazing athletes come from inline, from these amazing coaches from all over the country. You guys, Renee, you, Paul, people like David Downing, honestly, David Weber, guys like David Weber, guys up in the Northwest, those guys, the Pattisons, you guys have really made, I'm kind of getting teared up here. You guys have made some amazing human beings over the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, more than anything.
Probably during COVID, the hardest thing for me was like when we couldn't coach. My mom passed away and I couldn't coach, and I was out with my back, and it took me a while to figure out why. And it's because, like with skating, every time I go to practice, I feel like I'm making a positive impact on someone's life, the same as I do when I do physical therapy. In the assisted living, I'm trying to keep them independent so they can stay in their own homes here. And I just feel like when I wasn't able to do those things, it was like I wasn't a complete person. I got so depressed because I need that. I need to be able to feel like what I do every day is beneficial to people. That I am making a difference in lives. And there's been a lot of people that I've heard from, even after we had there was a show that went nationwide, the Olympic Zone, the other night, and people all over the country were like calling me, and remembering when I coached them or their kids or whatever, and just a lot of positive things that you don't really realize, until someone comes back and tells you that. Like, you remember the kids, but you don't know what effect you have on them until sometimes you never do, and sometimes later down the road, you figure it out. But my life's not complete without doing those things. So as much as I've tried, like, maybe, okay, I'm just tired of all the crap, I don't want to coach anymore or whatever, it's like I can't stay away from it. It's in my blood and I have a passion for it. And sometimes there might only be half a dozen kids, that are actually training in Ocala that I think are really working hard enough to be what they could be. But even if there's just one, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to show up and train that one that wants to do it, because he showed up. Like, no matter what, he keeps showing up. And like I said, with perseverance, like, we got a little kid on the team now, reminds me a lot of Joey, a little kid named Brady. He's the exact opposite as far as muscle. That's the one I told you that has no fast twitch fibers. Joey could always win the start and take off. This poor kid had to develop his start, and he's small for his age. He's in freshman now. Some of the boys have gone through puberty. He hasn't, but he has perseverance. That kid keeps training hard. Every practice, he works his butt off. He's always, given 100% in the drills. And that's what I saw out of Joey. He never got tired of skating. He loved skating, wanted to do it all the time. And that's what I see in this kid. And he's a little blonde kid, so obviously that helped remind me of him as well. But I've told him for many, many years, you remind me of Joey. Working like Joey. He got to meet Joey's dad the other day, and Joey's dad knew who he was from Facebook, and like came up to him and said, "Hey, you're Brady," or whatever. And Brady just was so impressed that Joe knew who he was. But I talked to my Joey about him, because even Joe, I said, "Joe, I got this kid," and he goes, "Yeah, he's not as good as me."
Yeah.
Like, Joey can still get jealous about me saying some kid's really, doing really good like him or something. But
you know what? Hey, Renee, I'm going to tell you this. So Fred and I have this conversation all the time, and fourth, his real name is Fred. I'm not sure if you know this.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I call him Fred. I refuse to call him fourth past 30 years old. Right. We have this conversation all the time. We are super competitive. Even at 40 years old, we are very, very competitive. And I will say things to him like that. You couldn't beat me in a sprint.
Right.
And he's like, well, yeah, you couldn't beat me in a 20K. I'll be like, yeah, well, I didn't want to skate a 20K. I didn't want to skate that, but you couldn't beat me in the 300. And I will tell you, that's never going to change. The Joey's mentality, that's the way a champion thinks.
Right.
You're going to be competitive for the rest of your life. And Brady is his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Brady. If Brady has worked his butt off to develop from to be able to get a sprint,
right,
he will make something of himself. But you know what? You can't ever give it to him. You can't ever say, hey, you're going to just, hey, that's great, Brady. You just made an amazing start. No, you know what? Brady, you can do better.
Yep, always.
Yeah, always do better.
Even, just like people are like, oh, aren't you so excited about Brittany? I'm like, I am, but I also saw the look on her face when she got the third, and that's not what she was after. Is she happy with the bronze medal? Absolutely. But she's won the gold in everything but the Olympics. Like, she has won that race so many times. And, I don't know what happened there. Maybe the ice was a little soft. They were sleeping on hard beds. Who knows? They weren't in their normal environment. But, at the same time, like, she's a champion. Like, no matter what, she's a champion.
Renee, I think you're on the same wavelength on this one. I don't think China should have had this Olympics.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But we definitely shouldn't have boycotted them either. I got upset with people saying, oh, we should boycott them.
No.
My thing is, if you want to get rid of everything in your house that's made in China first,
everything's gone.
Tell me that we're going to boycott the Olympics so we don't give China money. I'll go for that.
No.
But not when we support them in every other way. Why are we going to boycott the Olympics?
Yeah, I don't think we boycott the Olympics. I don't think that the IOC should have ever allowed the Olympics to happen in China.
Right.
There's many other cities in just the last 20 years. There's Torino, there's Nagano, you can go to Norway, for some of this stuff if you need to. I think again, going back to the Jim Larson show, the show that you know, where maybe a lot of people complain about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They were talking about it last night in Norway. In Norway, if you look at it from the perspective of like inline to ice, here in the United States, we have 2 ovals. We have Milwaukee and we have Salt Lake City.
Right.
When you talk about the terms of like 200 meters like inline bank tracks, we have 4. Where Columbia has like
No,
probably
Jason.
Yeah.
Janet. Oh, okay. You need help?
No.
Okay, just want to let me know. Okay, thank you.
Renee, we're gonna wrap it up, and I appreciate it. But
It's okay.
all I was gonna say is
I've been off the clock for a while, but somebody fell. ET is human forklifts.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for hanging around. I appreciate it. But if you look at it though, and if you take a country like Norway, they have 14 400-meter ovals.
Yeah.
We have 2.
It's the same as Columbia. It has 7 bank tracks in every city. It's the same exact thing.
Right. So
we don't have the facilities.
But I will say this. I'm gonna tell you this. I have this is just me. Fred and I have been looking into land and construction costs for a bank track here in the Houston area. This is something we started in about the last 6 months. So
I'm going to try to get the city of Ocala to build one.
There you go. Gypsy, city of Waco.
Yep.
You guys. Renee, thank you so much for everything you do. You have been, for me personally, you have caused so many tears with your skaters. You are the you are the cause. You made it happen. Thank you so much for everything you do for both long track, short track, and inline speed skating. You have made such an impact on so many people's lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you've been amazing. Renee, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on here. Thank you for giving me your time.
No problem. It's good to talk to you, Jason.
All right. Hopefully you're going to see this. You're going to see all of this massive, sexiness coming down the 100-meter.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh my God. I can't wait.
Some white spandex.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be magnificent. Joey Colazzo, he's going to come out in there with my pom-poms and everything. All right.
I got to put that for sure.
Yeah. Renee, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.